was then called upon by the other to present an appeal to the FIA in Paris later that same week. No one had ever won an appeal, and McLaren were no more successful than the rest. And FISA President Jean-Marie Balestre imposed a further 6-month suspended ban on Senna, plus a $100,000 fine. McLaren found the steward's decision and appeal procedure extremely suspect, and as the rest of the Formula One circus busied themselves in moving the Formula One show to Adelaide, Australia, Ron Dennis proceeded to hold a press conference to explain to the world some of the irregularities of the appeal.
It bore absolutely no semblance to the case that we were fighting. Several key issues were put forward. What was originally document Steward's decision number 17 had become Steward's decision number 16, with a very badly executed change of the 7 to a 6, and we were faced with an additional document number 17 which brought out other issues which we were asked to defend. What we're fighting for is a consistent application of the regulations, a clear application of all parts of the regulations, and to take away from our sport, both in this matter and in future matters, the ability of decisions to be taken so quickly and without sufficient evidence. We don't actually criticise the stewards of the meeting. We think with what they had and the circumstances in which they had to take those decisions, the decision was understandable. Last Friday, I found myself in quite a unique position. I want to state this morning that the position that I found myself in was not one where we were attempting to argue for the World Championship, and more importantly, certainly not one in which we were attempting to influence the outcome of the identity of the world champion. Our position then and today is the same. What we're arguing about, what we intend to continue fighting for, is the application of some fundamental values of fair play, integrity and honesty. And those fundamental values are the things that we've built our company on and which we wish to see applied in Grand Prix racing. Quite obviously, as this debate is going to continue probably throughout the winter, it's very difficult for me to say a great deal about what our future actions are going to be. But what I would say is that in this instance, the most appropriate direction to go is the direction of enlisting your support and for you to make your judgments about the sequence of events that followed the accident in Suzuka. This accident in no way has any relevance to what then subsequently took place. We accept that when two drivers of the level of Alain and Ayrton are fighting for the World Championship and tangle in the way that they did at Suzuka, that is a natural course of events that comes out of the fight for the World Championship. What we're fighting about and what we feel is important is what took place after that accident. And therefore, both on Sunday in Suzuka, Friday in Paris at the Court of Appeal, and today, our principal motivation is to fight for fair play. And that is exactly what we intend to do and what we're going to continue to do.
Well, Alan Jones is watching that conference is taking place at the Hilton Hotel in the city. Alan Jones is at the track and watching that. Alan, what was your impression of what Ron Dennis had to say?
Well, Terry, he's obviously fairly miffed, and I believe him when he says that he's going to continue to go for them, because what I've heard around the circuit here yesterday afternoon and this morning is that there's also fairly strong rumours that FISA have said to him that if he continues to pursue any sort of civil action, they may indeed think very seriously about taking his entrance licence away from him. Now, if that is the case, my interpretation of that is blackmail. FISA have been fairly consistent in the far as that they're inconsistent. You know, they hand out fines like they're going out of fashion, and they can range from $500 to $500,000. In my own opinion, it just seems to be totally at the whim of Mr. Ballest, who's the president of FISA. And he's a person that I have come to logger horns with several times. He's been the president of FISA now for a long time, and in my own personal opinion, I think he does the sport more harm than good.
We talked earlier about the suggestion that that there may be a change in the way that it's all put together, the Formula One racing. Is this sort of heading more in that direction now, do you think, from what Ron Dennis is saying? The fight is on, well and truly?
Well, I think this might create a precedence where if certain undertakings are carried out, that it could change the face of Formula One. You know, we may, as I said before, have to have a group of Formula One drivers in charge of their own destiny. I would like to see the drivers have more of a say in the fines that are imposed, because, you know, if they have a Grand Prix Drivers Association and someone's being a bit naughty and driving a bit recklessly, I think it's far better for the drivers to take him aside and say, hey, listen, you know, keep that up and someone will give you a major brake test or something, or we'll sort you out. Yeah. As I said before, rather than somebody that has never sat his bum in the car. Here's a scene again now of, see, there's just two guys wanting the same piece of road at the same time. And you will get this in motorsport. It's just a sort of an on-course disagreement.
Yeah. Now, getting back to the disagreement, Senna was quite impassioned yesterday in talking about how he's going to fight to clear his name and continue to drive as he's always driven. Is there a possibility this could spread onto the track and be dangerous for both drivers?
No, I don't think so, because, you know, all through the history of motorsport, there's the mere fact that you're a racing driver, you have to be have a fairly good ego and have extreme faith in your own ability, and you have to be able to get yourself fired up and control this aggression, because you have to be aggressive to drive one of those cars quickly. But when you get into the cockpit, they are professionals. They're guys that have been around for a long time. You just don't get in a Formula One car overnight. You build your way up to a Formula One car, and you learn to leave all those things that could affect your driving behind in the pits. When they get in the cockpit of the car, they just concentrate on getting that car around the circuit as quickly as they can, as safely as they can.
Just going back to the row that's going on, if action was taken by the governing body against McLaren, might some of the other car groups support McLaren, take a stand?
Yes, I think that's very likely. I think that if FOCA, which is the Formula One Constructors Association, found that McLaren had been unfairly dealt with by FISA, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see them stand up and form, I hate this word, but a union to go against FISA. I could see this happening very easily.
OK, Alan, well, thanks for talking to us, and enjoy the weekend. I'm sure you will.
All right, Terry, thank you.
It's me, deep inside, to fight against it and to prove that what I'm doing, there is a reason for, and what I'm doing has values. And only motivates me to fight right to the end, at any cost, and whatever happens, that maybe once we can bring some justice to the sport and to our activity. Home, not coming to Australia. And I thought about racing in Australia, and then not coming after Australia. So many things have gone through my mind. But as I said before, I am a professional, I have a responsibility, and I'm also a human being, and the values I have in my life are stronger than any other people's desire to influence those values and to destroy those values. Therefore, I'm here, and I'm going to race here and do my very best, because we all, not only me, but we all, as you people, press, and everybody that contributes, direct or indirect, to motor racing, have a responsibility to worldwide, all the fans and everyone that follows, millions of people that follow racing on television. And when we are racing in Japan at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Japan is 2 o'clock in the morning in many other countries, 3 o'clock, and those people are there watching on TV because they have passion for it. They follow it. It's a show for them. It's enthusiasm for them. And it's our duty to put forward something good out of it, and to make sure that people who have got credibility today, people who are champions, people who believe they are champions, and people who think they have the power and the right power to govern our sport, don't use you people to put forward bad values and unfair situations and untrue situations throughout the world. Unfortunately, that happens often, and you are all used by these people. And in many occasions, I have paid a high price for staying quiet and not saying the things that I knew and that I believed to. And I was put like a dishonest, dishonor, not professional, not a sportsman, and that thing still carries on. And I have answered these things many months later when the emotional feelings were not standing up, but the fair thing and a clean mind was coming up. And today what we have in Formula One, what we had in Suzuka, it just reflects the present situation, the political situation that we have in motorsport and particularly in Formula One. And if that's what we have to face to prove, or try to prove at least, that there are still people that have got some value, we'll go. And I'll go right to the end. I'll do all what I can to show that there is some values behind everything. And the things that have been said, the things that have been put forward by these people that have got credibility, you know, between aspas, I don't know what's the word in English.
Asterisks.
Yes. Have to be... I refuse to walk away from the fight. It's my nature to go right to the end, and that's what I'm going to do.
This was an issue that might have far-reaching consequences, so what did other team managers involved in Formula One think?
I just have to say I do not see the reasoning behind those two actions, and it obviously casts some sort of lack of confidence, creates lack of confidence in one's mind about the way the governing body runs itself.
It bears no resemblance to any sort of natural justice that McLaren should go there appealing against a decision against them that was made in Japan and then having to face other charges without any previous notice. It's just, it's unreal, really, a really monstrous decision to call Senna a dangerous driver, and the penalty is just ridiculous.
I think that these two drivers are two of the greatest champions of motorsport, and I don't think they should be treated like this from the federation.
You will get too much wheel spin and then you will lose time. So it's a coordination of the two movements with the throttle, with the clutch together that are sometimes very difficult to achieve.
Well, that's how Tahiri Boutsen saw the start of this year's French Grand Prix from the cockpit of his Williams. And as is often the case, someone did find the start difficult to achieve. Few drivers start a race as consistently well as Ferrari's Gerhard Berger. Here he is in this year's German Grand Prix, starting from 4th spot on the grid behind Senna, Prost and Mansell.
And sure enough, Berger goes straight up, and is he going to take the lead on the first corner? And Gerhard Berger, with an absolutely superb start, gets away. Philippe Alliot, who tried to sprint out from 15th place on the grid, is rejoining. Senna takes the lead again from Berger. It's Prost third, Mansell fourth. Thierry Boutsen in the Williams Renault is in 5th place.
You know, you have to be very careful in the start. If you got with too much revs, if you get release the clutch too hard, if you get too much wheel spin, you get a lot of temperature in the rear tires, then the pressure goes up, and then you have big oversteer in the next corners because you have too much tire pressure in. So you have to be very careful to let come the clutch very slowly and help the tires with the clutch, not to spin too much and to keep the temperature down.
a lot depends from where you start really in the grid. If you start in the front, if you start in the middle, or if you start in the back.
35-year-old Riccardo Patrese, having driven in more Formula One races than any other driver here, has had plenty of practice leaving the start. He might only have won 2 races in his 12 seasons, but he knows what it takes to get away to a flyer.
When the green comes, you must be really very ready to go off. And of course, not to make any mistake or miss a gear during not just the start, after the start, when you go for the acceleration after the start, because missing a gear, it means to lose some position.
Here's an example of what Patrese is talking about. We're aboard Ivan Capelli's march in this year's Mexican Grand Prix. Starting from 4th or 5th spot on the grid, he miscues that vital combination of clutch and throttle, spins his rear tyres and finds himself back in 9th place by the time he reaches the first corner. This weekend in Adelaide, Capelli will be trying desperately not to make the same mistake.
Concentration. Concentration on the traffic light to be really 100% there and not thinking something else or thinking already at the race. You must start the race, and you must start the race very carefully and try to find your position and to keep your position, to fight with the others, but at the same time to defend to the others and trying to find the right compromise in the middle of the car.
Most drivers will tell you that when you boil it all down, reflexes are the key. You can plan and plot those critical few seconds before the start until your head hurts. Ultimately, though,
a good fight and making a good excitement for you, for yourself, when you're fighting, trying to make overtake or trying to win, to the people that are behind you and to all the enthusiasts all over the world. They don't want to watch a race that the first is there, the second is there, and the race goes like this, nothing happened. That is no excitement. There is no reason for motor racing being like this.
do you think that the threat made by FISA, or whatever the name of the governing body is these days, is going to affect your driving in any way? Is it going to make you stop and think, well, gee, hang on a minute, I better be careful because, you know?
No, I would like to think that every time when I sit in the car, I am careful, because I know that the racing car is a danger thing. We get used how to cope with the danger when you're driving, when you're testing, and when you get the experience. We cope with the situations better than other people. This particular situation of threatening is totally unacceptable, because, as I mentioned, the machine is on the limit, the man is on the limit, and by having such a situation like this, if it happens that I'm involved in any accident, being my fault, my own mistake, that could be, or anybody else, the blame is going to be automatically on me, and this is not acceptable. But there's no choice. I have to go through that. I'll go through that.
Okay, I mean, Alain made statements during the course of the year that his car wasn't as equal as your car. He was down on power, or there was some sort of thing going on. Obviously, you don't agree with that.
It's not a question that I agree with that or not. It's a question of looking at the race results. And if you know a little bit about Formula One, you then understand that this is totally untrue. And you only look at the team's history over the years, where they had top drivers at the same time, and they always provide both with the same equipment. And last year and this year, more than anything, the combination with Honda gave the team the ability to push even harder to provide both drivers with the same equipment. I have blown up, or I have not finished many races that he has finished, and he has won. So if anybody had some technical problems, it was me, not him. The result speaks by itself.
Sure. Eden, what do you think of Alain Prost, the man? Not the driver, not the teammate, but Alain Prost, the man.
I wouldn't have good words, and therefore I rather not comment, because when you have a position like a racing driver has with success, you have a lot of credibility and people tend to believe what you say. And I'd rather use my words for building up something positive, constructive, than destructive.
Gerhard Berger joins you next year as your teammate in McLaren. Do you know him socially? Do you spend much time with him?
A little bit, not much, because as you know, Alan, we live in different countries, we travel to different places. We only meet normally over a race weekend, where the environment is not the best to make relationships. But I know him a little bit. We've been together outside racing a little bit, especially lately. And he's not easy. He has a good mind, and he's a man who likes to joke a lot. So you have always to be careful with him because you get in trouble with him. But he's fun. That is good. And I'm looking forward next year to race with him because I think